This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Thank you for choosing this Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast, where we talk all of the latest and greatest news in the world of sports. As always, I'm Alex.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are back today to talk sports with you. And the three major sports, as a matter of fact, we'll be talking today. We'll be talking football in the Thursday night football preview that we're going to be doing tonight between the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll be talking some big closer signing news in baseball. And we will be talking basketball, as we talked about LeBron James' game last night in New York. We'll be telling you how that went for him. Let's start with baseball, and we're going to look at the New York Yankees, whom have reunited with left-handed closer Aroldis Chapman on a 5-year, $86 million deal, making him the highest-paid closer of all time. That recognition formerly going to Mark Melancon, who signed earlier this week.
Right.
So that did not last long, but I'm sure Melancon is still happy with his money. Chapman, who is 28 now, has a few clauses in this. He cannot be dealt to a team on the West Coast, okay, and cannot be dealt at all in the first 3 years of the contract. So that's going to keep him there a little longer than the first time around, if you ask me. The Marlins and the Dodgers were also finalists in the Chapman sweepstakes. Personally, I'm glad he did not go to the Dodgers. While the Marlins were in it to the very end, the Dodgers dropped their pursuit early. So Chapman will slot behind Dylan Betances to work in the ninth, as the Yankees will try to shorten games. That was a problem they had a lot this year. Now, I guess you could say they pulled a little bit of a fast one, because the Yankees traded Chapman for the Cubs' highest prospect in a sense, and then now they sign him. So they get him. They get all the prospects. And they get him back. That's pretty good. Chapman's coming off a World Series win with the Cubs, obviously, so he's happy about that. And then the Yankees get the 4 prospects headlined by 19-year-old Gleyber Torres, who won the Arizona Fall League MVP. A little too much money, or? I
mean, the Yankees, they're going to do that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. They just talked yesterday, Brian Cashman talked yesterday about how they were the Golden State Warriors, the Red Sox were of Major League Baseball.
I feel like that the Golden State Warriors of baseball is more like the Red Sox. Is more like the Cubs. Because they didn't trade for all these players.
Right.
They grew the players.
Yeah, and the one person they did trade for, Chapman, at the end of the year was kind of the addition later on in the year that put him over the top, which I guess you could say that Durant could be that, with the Warriors in the NBA.
Exactly.
Plus, you had that whole thing with Cashman saying that whole thing, making it seem like, they're the Warriors, so we have no chance, so we're not going to, win the division.
Yeah,
okay.
He says that like the Yankees hadn't been doing that for decades and decades. The reason the Yankees were good is because they had the money to shell out for the big free agents.
Yeah,
that's the definition of what he is not. I guess accusing them, but what he's saying, is they're good because they get all these good players, and what are we? You're the Yankees.
Even though the players they have, like Jackie Bradley Jr. and Betts and everybody else on the team, they, were in the minor leagues.
Their most significant free agent was a guy that didn't play much at all last year, who's going to be looked at to play a little bit more now that they traded Shaw, but that's right. Sandoval. Otherwise, now, yes, they got Chris Sale. That's a pitching significant free agency grab, yeah. And then, they had pitching free agents in the past with Price.
Right.
So, yeah, understandable, but you're the Yankees, man. Don't get me started on your Matt Hollidays and your Carlos Beltrans and your Alex Rodriguez's, your Giambis, your Ellsbury, all the players that you signed over the years because you're
Burnett,
the
Sabathia, everybody, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't get me Clemens. Don't even, man. Like, you're the definition of the type of team, and you are the team. People compare other teams to you when they do things like that.
And now you got, like you said, you got him back. He had Chapman who wasn't yours to begin with. You got him from Cincinnati, and then he did really well for you, and then you realized you weren't in contention to win anything, so you're like, all right, let's trade him to a contender.
Let's get some pieces.
Which they did. They got a lot back for him. They had top prospects back for him. And then in the offseason, it was just like, okay, you can come back. We're going to give you a lot of money, $17 or so million per year. Come back, and, now everything's fine again. Like, I guess I can't get Andrew Miller back because he's still under contract, but that would be like the ultimate, just kind of like, yeah, let's get all these prospects and get the guys back kind of thing.
Yeah, and I was going to say, too, before we got to that point, like, you look at, like how I said, teams are compared to them. People called the Heat back in 2000.
Right.
They're like the Yankees, getting all these players. The Eagles in 2010.
Right.
Like the Yankees getting all these people.
The Lakers when they had Dwight Howard and everybody, yeah.
And Steve Nash and Kobe and
Powell.
And yeah. Oh, they're like the Yankees. Yeah, exactly. Teixeira.
Because they're pretty much the original team that did that, no? Like maybe there was some like Manchester United stuff that did it back in the day.
No, the Yankees have always done that. They've always shelled out money because of their market for big players,
Were they the first ones to do that? Because back in the 70s they did that with like Reggie Jackson. I'm thinking
they
were probably
they did that with Babe Ruth.
Yeah, true.
So they've been doing that for a long time. They, not to their credit, they had a lot of players that were,
DiMaggio, Garrett, people that were homegrown.
Yeah, Yogi Berra guys that were homegrown, obviously. But then you get to the era of free agency because it's a different time then, and they are the leading, doer of that. So don't come to me and be like, oh, they're the Warriors of the NBA or the MLB with your Aroldis Chapman and your Ellsbury in center field and all the players that you traded for in the past. Teixeira, if he was still there, if you had A-Rod, he's the biggest examples. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure it's a good deal for them. If he can close for them there, he'll be there for at least 3 years unless they just cut him, which I doubt because that'll cost a lot of money.
Right. He'll be there for a lot of years, and the funniest part will be if they, for whatever reason, in a year or two or whenever he becomes a free agent, if they just like throw all the money at Bryce Harper.
Yeah, that is another story because that man is a very good player and he's young. But if it's true what he's asking for a contract, somebody needs to slap him in the face, nicely. But
why slap him in the face?
If he's asking for $400 million,
why not?
Because nobody in the world is worth that for a game.
Yeah, but
no offense to him. But the $315 million contract that belongs to Giancarlo Stanton is a stretch for somebody of Giancarlo Stanton's abilities.
Right.
No thank you, Bryce Harper. I'm not going to lease my entire team's future on you.
Yeah, but it's not like how A-Rod got $252 million and it basically wrecked the entire Rangers organization.
Is it not? How do we know?
Because it's the Yankees. I'm saying if the Yankees do it. I'm not saying if like the Rangers sign him or if the Nationals sign him. I'm saying if the Yankees sign him, then it's not going to cripple him.
I'm saying if I'm the GM of any team, I'd be like, okay, listen, let's reach out to him. $400 million or whatever you want. Nope. Sorry, kid. You have big dreams.
He does have big dreams.
He's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but he's got an attitude problem. He drops in consistency. He'll have consistent runs and then just drop off production.
This year he wasn't the same guy, whether through injuries or whatever.
100%.
The whole attitude problem. So did Barry Bonds, and Barry Bonds is the greatest player I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, but Barry Bonds had an attitude problem, but he almost always produced. And as he got older, the attitude problem went away. And that's not to say that it won't for Harper, but as of right now, he's a 24-year-old kid.
Right.
You got an attitude problem.
That's why he's getting the money, is because he's 24. If he was,
he's not getting
28,
the money,
he's getting the money. He may not get $400 million, but he'll get like $350. He'll break whatever Giancarlo Stanton got.
Well, that's the thing is Giancarlo Stanton deal is huge, but it's also over 13 years.
Yeah,
so
and also
it's not
there's
as
some
huge as it seems in a sense.
And there's some outs with his contract that if he needs to, if he wants to go somewhere else or whatever like that, he can kind of get around it. The team can get around it if they want to, because it's the Marlins and they're really good at basically not
getting out of things.
Yeah,
I think it's a Florida thing.
It's just, oh my God, I love Miami so much. The whole city's insane.
Never been, but I hear that from a lot of retiree folks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, good deal, I guess. Now they already came out and said, yeah, we probably won't have much more money to spend. So
okay, good talk.
Sorry. Now, real quick, just to close out the baseball stories for
Yep.
me in the week, just because there's some that are going on. The Nationals get Adam Eaton from the White Sox for 3 pitchers. The Cubs acquire closer Wade Davis and send Soler to the Royals. Any talk of the Ortiz comeback that he was joking about with Chris Sale on his Instagram page has been brushed off by the Red Sox, and the O's GM rejects Bautista's potential of being signed by them because the fans do not like him.
Right.
Understandable, to say the least. And last but not least, from the local market here, the San Francisco Giants have traded pitcher and long reliever starter Chris Heston to the Mariners for a player to be named later. No idea who that is yet. Don't know when they'll name that, but that is what the deal is. They're looking to get younger in the bullpen, apparently. And unfortunately for him, he was kind of impacted in the sense of, you have your top 3 in Bumgarner, Cueto, Samardzija. You had Matt Moore in the trade, who pitched very well last year on stretches. You had Ty Block, who started, it's going to be between him and Kane probably for that 5th spot. And then do you have a guy like Albert Suarez or Tyler Beede really push for that potential spot? So, yeah, unfortunately. And I mean, you hate to say it, but he kind of did it to himself in a sense. He had a struggling season last year, and then even down in AAA here in Sacramento, the River Cats, he struggled. So, it's unfortunate, but he kind of did it to himself. But that is the news in baseball as of right now. There's not much else going on.
And you think that Jensen, whenever he finally signs, he's going to break whatever Chapman
I thought Chapman would be the last one to sign, so I was much more I guess I was much more sure of the fact that I was saying Melancon signed first and he signed the highest deal for a closer ever, right? And I said the next one to sign, figuring it would be Jensen,
right,
would be the highest, and then finally Aroldis would be the highest. I know that Kenley's deal will be big. Will it be $86 million? I don't know, but I know it's going to be big.
Yeah.
I mean, because you got to be looking at giving him almost $90 million. And no offense, I think all 3 of these guys are very good closers. I don't know. I take Chapman maybe over Jensen. So, excuse me. I don't know if they get more. If he gets more,
Yeah, the thing with Chapman that might have hurt him just a little bit because they were talking about $100 million. They throw all these numbers out there, talking about $100 million for Chapman. Mm-hmm. He struggled a little bit for the Cubs in the playoffs. Whether he got
it was weird because as a Giants fan,
right,
I've only ever seen him in scenarios where they're going to win,
right,
with the Reds, or I didn't really watch much of him in the Yankees, but so I've been aware of him, and I've never really seen him.
Because the only thing that's burning your memory is him throwing 105 and no one being able to touch him.
Exactly. So knowing we can touch him, and then you had the game where Connor Gillespie hit a home run off of him,
right?
And I was like, I've never seen that happen before, especially because Gillespie had never seen him before,
right?
You know how hard it is to hit a 100 mile per hour thrower, without even seeing him for the first time.
I can't even hit a 70 in the batting cage. You think I'm gonna hit 105? No.
I mean, I'm not. That's okay. I played baseball, and I wasn't the best player. I wasn't amazing or anything.
Right.
I was a decent hitter, but I mean, I wouldn't want to stand there. No, I'm saying it's hard enough just hitting a 100 mile per hour throw, let alone one you've never seen before.
Right.
But yeah, he had issues at times. But they kind of found those issues. It was when he came in with people on base because he was out of the stretch in a sense. At least relievers have different definitions of that, but. He was out of the stretch, or out of his windup, into the stretch, and he found that it was kind of like a mental thing for him, I guess. So we'll see how that goes for him. I'm sure he'll do fine with the Yankees. If they can build pieces. I personally don't like the Yankees. I don't care if they're bad. It doesn't harm me. I'd actually prefer it. Anyways, let's go ahead and take our first break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk some NBA news real quick with LeBron James and recap of his game from last night, and then we'll talk football at the end. So let's take our first break. Get back to our second segment here in just a minute at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. We're going to move into basketball now. We're going to look at the game that we kind of talked about yesterday. LeBron James going to play the New York Knicks there, Madison Square Garden. And, they won pretty handily there, 126-94 over the Knicks. 15-5 for them on the year now. The Knicks, though, not a horrible start compared to some of the past few years, 12-10 for them. You look at the Cavaliers, we talked about LeBron James having a LeBron James-type day. Well, he had a pretty decent day, 25 points on a decent amount from the field. 7 of 10 from the field, 1 of 2 from three-point land. He did get to the line a lot, though, about 7 times for the most part. 10 for 14 on the day for him. Not an amazing day in terms of all-around performance. As no triple-doubles, no double-doubles to speak of in terms of those crazy performances. 7 assists for him, 6 rebounds. So 6, 7, and 25 isn't a horrible day by any means. Look at going into the game, we were looking at him having more like Tristan Thompson numbers in terms of the
rebounds.
The rebounds with 20 there for Thompson. But, he had a good game. He played well, obviously. He was the second leading scorer on the team behind Kyrie, and it really flips between the two of them anyways, with who's really scoring.
Right.
And then the Knicks, they played well. Their starters didn't get a whole lot of production, at least from the sense that 3 of the Cavs players all ended up in 20, in double digits and at least 20 points, the lowest being Kyle Love with 21. Their leading scorer from the starting lineup for the Knicks was Brandon Jennings, with 16 points. So not an amazing day for him. Lee had 15, 12 from Porzingis, only 8 from Carmelo Anthony, which is a little surprising. He was 0 for 2 from three-point land. He was only 4 for 9, which isn't a horrible average for his field goals on the night. Didn't get to the line at all. Only played about 24 minutes. So not great production from them. Their leading scorer off the bench was Quinn with 10. Otherwise, their bench wasn't much of a significant addition in terms of production. Mm-hmm. So, just a better team beating a team, a team beating a team that they are better than, in that sense. The Cavaliers from top to bottom, not even with their specifically average, that's not always their starting lineup, A lot of times you have Shumpert in there, Dunleavy sometimes will start really depending on matchups and injuries. But, even with their starting lineup and then their bench, you have, Fry off the bench, you have Jefferson, Anderson off the bench. Like I said, Shumpert, Jones, especially Dunleavy. A lot of those guys off the bench are good for them. Like I said, Shumpert alone scoring 14 off the bench, that would put them third in the starting lineup of the Knicks, in scores. So it's just a better team beating a team that is still finding their way right now. But it wasn't. I don't think it was that, slam it down on you, Phil Jackson type game.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the thing. Like, we were talking about that yesterday, and it makes sense in one aspect and it doesn't in the other. Like, yeah, he's pissed off at Phil Jackson, and I get why he's pissed off, and that's fine. So is
Carmelo. Everybody's pissed off at Phil Jackson.
Yeah, he took swipes at Carmelo the other day too, and like there were jokes that day. Like he said something like, "If you hold the ball for more than 2 seconds or something like that, you're a selfish player." Or you're not.
Yeah, he said he holds the ball too long.
Yeah, which if you're Melo, you're probably just give me the ball and just isolation every single time you have the play.
Yeah, Carmelo is a little bit like that.
Oh yeah, but also he's been on teams sometimes, not every time, because he had that Western Conference Finals team with Chauncey Billups and them. But there's been times where he's been on the team and he's been like, "Why would I pass the ball to any of you guys? Like, I would just take this shot rather than give it to you."
Listen, inbound it to me, and I'll take care of it.
Right, the whole Michael Jordan thing, get the ball and get the hell out the way kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, no, and with LeBron, like we talked about how he's mad at Phil. Yeah, of course he's mad at Phil, but that has nothing to do with Melo. That has nothing to do with Joakim Noah. That has nothing to do
friends with them.
With Brandon Jennings. Like, that has nothing to do with them. That just has to do with Phil. And Phil, I don't think Phil was even there. I think Phil was probably just in the Bahamas just doing whatever he's doing. So he has no
I don't think he was either.
Beef with them. I mean, we saw in the middle of the game they were doing the flip water bottle challenge. Like, they weren't even caring about the game because they were up by so much. They're just like, well, this is going to be entertaining.
It's like let's try to do this. Good old Mark Sanchez eating a hot dog on the side of the Raiders.
Right.
Even though he wasn't doing that because he didn't care. He needed to eat, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though he's disgusting and ate it with mustard, and that's disgusting.
That is not disgusting. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, friend, but...
You're not a fan of mustard?
I hate mustard, yeah. No, I don't know why.
I'm okay with mustard. I do not like mayonnaise. Mayonnaise can go straight to hell. No detours.
I won't eat mayonnaise by itself or anything, but I'll enjoy it on sandwiches and stuff.
It has to be a very small amount, if anything.
Real quick before we keep going, my sister, when she was young, kids eat weird stuff.
Sure.
She used to eat mayonnaise sandwiches. Like it was just mayonnaise.
Just straight mayonnaise sandwiches?
Yeah, mayonnaise on 2 pieces of bread, and then close the bread up as if as if the meat inclusion or the tuna, whatever the inclusion was, is missing. So, yeah, she was a weird kid. Anyways, I think she got bit by a brown recluse spider when she was a kid and had like lightweight scarlet fever. So anything she did that was weird, I just blame it on that. I blame it on that. I mean, she's older than me, so I can't do that, But I just blame it on them. I was like, oh yeah, that was when you had that fit of scarlet fever, huh?
Right?
That
makes sense.
You were real lost. That was your lost days,
right?
Anyways, yeah, I mean, significant win, but not unseen. Real quick, we'll look at the second of the primetime doubleheaders in a game that was looked to be as a possible kind of playoff preview. Mm-hmm. And the Warriors handled business 115-98 over the Clippers. They moved to 19-3 on the year, not what they were doing this time last year because they had yet to lose a game. Mm-hmm. But not far off that pace. They're still 10-1 on the road, which is great.
Right.
The Clippers moved to 16-7, and they're 7-4 at home. Not bad, but they want to be a little better than that. Leading scorer there for the Warriors again was Thompson, 24 points for him. Good day for him. Steph, 19 points. I saw him miss a lot of really fast transition threes.
He's 0 for 8. Yeah, from 3.
So not a good day for him. Clay was 50%, so that's nice for him. Draymond was 3 for 5, still kicking people, but not bad. 8 for 10 from the flow.
Honest question with Draymond though, do you think he does that on purpose?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You still think he does it on purpose?
Yeah, because for years it's not like we don't have film of your shot.
Right, but that's the thing. He's done it to who's he done it to? He's done it to Steven Adams,
Blake Griffin.
He just did it.
Who'd he kick in the head?
Harden.
Yeah, a
couple days ago.
In the chin.
Yeah,
like listen.
The reason I say it's not.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Is because we've seen him do it for legitimately years now, right? And now there's basically like a rule of like, Draymond, you can't do that. We're gonna make sure you don't do this anymore with a rule. And he still does it, like and he got not just because you can find NBA players money. They don't care about that. That's fine. But it's like you got publicly shamed in the finals, and you still do it all the time. And it wasn't like he just kind of like does like little kicks. That Harden kick was basically some kind of like just like high like whatever, just kick like way up in the air.
Yeah, for no reason.
Yeah, but it's not like he's doing it just like small. Like he's going for big air, literally, on some of these kicks. And like I just feel at this point like it's some like when you go to the doctor and they like hit your knee and
it's like reflex.
Yeah, like it's just kind of one of those things that his body just kind of just goes like. Meh,
I just don't think he cares. It's
probably
not like we don't have footage of what your shot looked like when you were younger in the league.
Right.
Like your leg has never been that significant of a kick on your follow through.
Right.
It was obviously like the only way it could have been more obvious to me that he did it. It looked like he did it on purpose. Mm-hmm. Just Steven Adams, as if he had his, did that like he had his back to him and did that back kind of kick, like heel up to him,
like some wrestling move, like just kind of like
or like the uppercut,
right,
like. Literally,
if after he kicked him, he just kind of like step back and kind of like the karate kind of pose afterwards.
Exactly, like if he like did the whole like kind of like Power Rangers, like they do the whole transformation. They go like
right, yeah.
They do some kind of like jiu-jitsu stance, know, like he's done it so many times, and he's so surprised, like he's upset that he keeps getting in trouble for it.
He just looks at people, what'd I do?
It.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like offensive linemen that hold and then look at the referee like what? Mm-hmm. I didn't have my hand around his neck.
Right.
Replay clearly shows you did, big buddy. So
my favorite is people now in the NBA who flop and who are like really good at the flopping, like Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is fantastic at flopping.
Fantastically bad. Like not bad to get caught.
He's
but
bad when you look at the replay. But he did like one thing like either last year or 2 years ago where he literally like jumped. Like he did some flop where he like jumped in the air and like flew back or something like that, and he got a call for it. Like he's really good at like getting the refs to be like, "Oh, that's a foul." Then look at the replay. It's like,
he's gonna hurt himself one time.
Yes, 100%.
Like remember earlier in the year when he like acted like a charge and threw himself down really quick, but he didn't really get touched.
Yeah,
you got to be careful. You smack your elbow on that court, it's not gonna feel good.
You like fling back or whatever. You get your head in the back of some dude.
Yeah, concussion. Like fall back and hit your face on another guy. Hit your back of your head on another guy's face. Like bones are hard. Mm-hmm. Anyways. Let's take our break. I have a question for you before we take our break. It's basketball related.
Okay.
If you could buy one basketball jersey if you could, or be given one basketball jersey, buy it, whatever, what would it be?
Are we talking like game worn or autographed, or are we talking
No,
about?
just a replica of any player, any team.
Current that's playing right now?
Whatever you want, because my answer is very specific.
Okay. We get one jersey.
Mm-hmm. It can just be, you can be a team jersey. It can be like, I know you're a big Kings fan. If you want like a, mid 2000s or like early 2000s Jason Williams, alternate home jersey, something like that.
I had that. I had the black Jason Williams jersey.
Weber one.
I don't know if I have it still. I had a Weber. I think my dad or I had a Jason Williams jersey. That would be the one if it'd be the Kings. Who would be somebody that's like one of my favorite players? Well, like the only person that's in my head right now is Russell Westbrook, so maybe that one. But why? What's yours? Which one is yours?
A Bill Murray Space Jam jersey.
I see what you're doing there with that. That's not bad.
I saw somebody coming into my gym with a Bill Murray Space Jam jersey on it, and I almost fell down.
That is fantastic.
I was
actually,
stoked.
That is really good.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah,
I like it.
Anyways, let's take our last break. We'll come back and we're going to talk tonight's Thursday night football game between the Raiders and the Chiefs in just a minute. So we will be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. We're going to be real quick, just ending the show with a preview of tonight's Thursday night football game between the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Raiders 10-2. They're still 5-0 on the road, unbeaten. Yeah. And at the top of the AFC West, and currently in the number one seed in the AFC in regards to the playoffs. And Kansas City Chiefs are right behind them. If they were to win this game, they would actually have the tiebreaker because they would sweep the series between the two teams. They are sitting at 9-3, 4-1 at home. So you have two very good records going against each other in regards to home and away. One undefeated on the road, obviously, as I mentioned, and a 4-1 for the Chiefs. Some decently significant injuries. You have Shalik Calhoun. He's a linebacker for the Raiders. He's out. Stacey McGee's a D tackle for the Raiders. He's out. And Carl Joseph, rookie out of West Virginia. I believe West Virginia. I always forget. I might have said that too soon. But Carl Joseph, who, young first-round pick for them, he's out of this game also. Somebody who has really helped that defense be better since coming back from – he started the season on the injured list, but he has since been okay, to play. And he definitely has been a piece that has helped them – yes, West Virginia. I was right. Has helped them really make that defense a little bit better, D-tackle position, that's tricky because the pass rush is the biggest part of this defense. It's ranked decently low in terms of total defense. For the Chiefs, no significant out injuries. You have two questionables with D linemen, Dontari Poe and Kendall Reyes, who's a defensive end. So significant more so for the Raiders. That's going to be tricky. You have three pieces of your defense that's kind of your weak spot. Right. I don't really know who to look at to win this one. You have, obviously, the Raiders, winners of their last 5, haven't lost in a while, most recently against Buffalo. And then you have the Chiefs, who, other than that, lost to Tampa Bay a couple weeks ago, winners of their last 4 or 5. So very, very even game in this sense. If you look at it, obviously, only separated by one game. This is definitely the best division in football. Even the Chargers are a decent team for their record, sitting there at 5-7. I don't even know how to look at this game really in the sense of other than kind of just taking a guess at who's going to win. The Raiders are averaging 28 points a game. They're also giving up though about 24. The Chiefs, on the other hand, scoring just about that much, about 23.4, but they're only not averaging giving up 20 a game. So their defense definitely a whole lot better. The Raiders' defense is allowing at least 124 yards rushing a game, 257 passing. So that's about middle of the pack. As a matter of fact, the Chiefs are allowing 275 also. So 275.3 for the Raiders. I said 57. And 275.8 for the Chiefs. And not far off in the rushing numbers either. 124, like I said, for the Raiders. 121 for the Chiefs. So these teams weirdly are very similar teams.
Yeah.
Carbon copies almost. The offense has been better than it ever has been for both teams, but in most recent years. But the Chiefs, finding pieces for Alex Smith, whether it's Travis Kelce or now Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
You still have Macklin, who's a veteran presence, and then don't even get me started on the Raiders offense. Like I said a few episodes ago, if the Steelers offense was completely healthy, Martavis Bryant, and all the players that should be there were there, I would call them the class of the offense in AFC. But even with all of them healthy, the Raiders aren't far behind.
Yeah.
And then I would say, obviously, right now they are the best offense in almost football, I would say. One could argue that, but definitely in the AFC. So this is a tough one. I want to give it to the Raiders because I know how they play at home. On the road.
Yeah.
They've been finding ways to win. I don't see them getting swept by the Chiefs.
The only thing is, though, and I would say that if it was in Oakland, but considering, the quick turnaround and the Chiefs at least get to stay at home, I understand the Raiders are really good on the road, but it's also short week going to Arrowhead, which is historically one of those really, really hard places to play in.
Very much so, yes. They have a very good home field advantage.
Yeah, and you get the thing of, I don't know if this matters at all, but, the quote-unquote momentum of, how the Chiefs won that game against the Falcons when you had the touchdown and then the pick two, whatever you want to call it. Which sounds weird.
It does. I like the phrase they have reservations for 6. I liked I heard it somewhere where he says they got reservations for 2.
That's fine. I like that. That works.
Except for it gets scored as a safety, which bothers me, but whatever.
Right. But
I get the 2 points. Yes, it's a safety. But
sure, yeah.
In regards to
2,
you look at the score, the scoring, the box score and everything, it's regarded as a safety. So my brother had the Chiefs defense, didn't get any points for that in fantasy wise. So he was bummed. But anyways.
Also, that has to be one of the worst ways to lose an actual game. The poor Falcons.
Now that they have that rule, we saw 2 of the best finishes in football this year with the blocked one and then with the interception for one.
Yeah, because before they would just kick it or whatever, and they would just kind of stop running. The play would just be dead.
Yeah, or you had the guys that would run it and it wouldn't matter. You're just wasting your energy. You're going to go back on offense if you're an offensive player, so stop running kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And that's got to be, the Falcons have had a history of having really weird situations happen with them, be it players or whatever. I was listening to Bomani Jones. He ran down an entire laundry list of everything that's happened. They had a man of the year with the Super Bowl get busted for soliciting a prostitute. They had a guy who I guess got, he had a 1,000-yard rusher. It was the first ever 1,000-yard rusher for the Falcons. They all stopped the game. Oh, congratulations, yeah. Finished the season with 995 yards rushing.
Because he got a negative run.
Because he had a negative 5-yard run right after that. The Falcons have a history of kind of doing these things where it's just yay, everything's good, and what just happened? Why are we losing? Why is everyone crying? Oh no, oh God, why? No, Jesus, kind of thing. But as I said, I don't know if the momentum follows through with that with the Chiefs, but they are at home, and the Raiders, for as good as they are offensively, defensively, they are not. And at least with the Chiefs, they have a solid enough offense and a really, really, really good defense. So it's at least a balanced effort like that. So with that, even though I would think they would probably split the series, I probably would lean KC more than I would Oakland with that. I'm
going to lean on the back of Oakland's pass rush, who has been getting better and better every week this year. And Khalil Mack especially. He's going to be my player of the game.
Sure.
I'm going to pick him kind of my his Gruden grinder kind of deal he does, I'm going to pick him as a big difference maker in this one. Him and Derek Carr, the good old draft pick buddies. I'm going to pick them to really lead the way for this one. Obviously, that's easy. The number 1 and number 2 players on your team in the sense of best and significant on both sides of the ball. I'd say Khalil Mack more than anything. I think he gets at least 1 sack in this one. I think it's going to be another battle between him and Justin Houston.
Right.
But I see the Raiders winning this one. So I'll give it to the Raiders and you give it to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
All right. You have to tell the fans how that goes tomorrow when you guys recap it on the show. Of course, I will not be here.
Yep.
Anyways, it's time to end the show. We have football to do. Now, thank you so much for listening to Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. As always, Ben will be back tomorrow with you and Jeremiah to discuss this game and anything and everything in the world of sports, because that's what we do here at the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. So thank you so much for tuning in. For Ben, I'm Alex.
And I'm Anthony.
And they'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you guys on Monday. You guys enjoy your weekend from me and enjoy your sports.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gshmc.com. GSMCpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.